find it very convenient that they put the computer in such a great location.
This is wonderful. They even give you a little clip here that you can just kind of move.
So why don't they give me better
way.
access to the fuel pumps that break all the time?
That would be nice, wouldn't it? This AC accumulator is in my way here.
Yeah, but you lift weights. So they gave us what appears to be easy access.
That, you know what? I mean, that doesn't get any easier, really. But I need this off so I can identify my pins. And these are tricky, and I'm probably going to break it. I usually do. But, you know, it's aluminum, and it oxidizes and gets all this crap in it. But
Unless you're in California.
They have release clips. And now these middle bolts, we don't want to take that out. That'll unbolt the whole connector. I just want the clips out of my way so I can get to the wires.
So you're going to back probe.
That's correct.
That's basically what you're looking to do, which means you slip some sort of conductor into the back of the connector in order to see what's coming out of it.
And you know, just for you guys that don't like doing back probing, I understand the theory out there on why you don't want to do it. But in certain circumstances, you have to. And again, we're only dealing with 12 volts. We're not dealing with death voltage here.
Well,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
there's that, and there's also the fact that it doesn't compromise the insulation. You just have to be careful that you don't disrupt the pin connection. It really depends on how you do it. You can be careful and get this done
that is correct.
And not have to destroy anything.
All right, so here's our two connectors.
Now that we've got the plastic out of the way.
Yeah. And there are numbers which are very difficult to see. I'm not sure you're going to see them on the camera.
Does it also tell us what connector is what somewhere?
Sometimes, if you're lucky. If you're lucky, that might be a... See, this is where my eyesight's starting to fail me. You know, I'm approaching 40 now, so...
Shut up.
I don't know. I don't know if that...
All it says is 60.
Yeah, I don't ever really worried about the connector because I go by sequencing.
But they do have the numbers.
We have numbers, we can see them, and even if they didn't have numbers, you can still use your sequencing. Sometimes we go to Mitchell and we get a nice pin-out guide. Nissan, you have to do that.
And this is why you wanted to know what color was next to it, because if I'm right, I think it's that pink-black one right there, isn't it?
Yeah, is that... so that's 76, yep, and then 77 through 80 is a space, and 75 is blue with a black. Is that what our diagram showed us?
So just like you were saying with your sequencing, that's kind of what we had there. We had an empty space.
Light blue with a black is pin 75, and then right next to 75 is another light blue and black. So we should have pink and black and two light blue and blacks.
Looks like we have exactly that.
And that is exactly it. That's a light blue and black.
It's really nice when the wiring diagram matches up to what you see in the car.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I hate to say this, that's not always the case.
You know what? But in my world, if I don't have the right diagram, I'm done. So I'm going to T-pin that one right there, this pink and black, and that is my number.
You're going to T-paint it?
T-paint, yeah. Actually, I have some insulated ones I got from Pico. It's part of my Pico scope, which are really nice. I'm going to use one of those.
Awesome.
And we'll go to the number 4, which is right next to that. So I'll go these two. And we'll get number 4 is going to be my black or blue with a black, and number 3 is this pink and black. We'll do both of those and we'll get a comparison. These are pretty sweet and actually made by Pico Scope. They're insulated. Basically, it's your T-pin, and just being gentle and making sure you go straight in.
I like that you're so gentle. I mean, you're a big guy, but you're very, very gentle.
Sometimes you got to be careful with these small computer connectors because if you go sideways, you're going to cross into another pin.
And that's what you're trying to avoid. And that's kind of what I was talking about. You need to take care. You need to make the connection for sure.
Absolutely.
But you don't need to destroy the connection in the process.
Absolutely. And honestly, I'm going to change my mind on what I want to do here. I'm not going to use the number 4 because I don't like how close these are to each other.
Okay.
I'm going to go to the other connector, which is should be a light green and black. Why is it on the other side of the computer? Whatever. That's it right there.
Okay.
Light green and black.
What would it be next to?
76, which is next to a black, and it should be next to a red.
Red, that's what you got, and then you got 2 spaces.
Again, and it was hard to see numbers, but sequencing is critical, and so I'm going to go way down here with my other one, and again, the only reason I chose that is I don't want these right next to each other. I don't want the T-pins crossing, or these probes crossing. These are very small pins.
Don't cross the probes.
Don't cross the probes. Kenny, do me a favor, buddy. Can you put these two on, put the blue one on channel A and the red one on channel B.
And that is your scope connection over there?
Yes, we're using the Pico scope. This is the 4000 series automotive scope. This is their newest one. And it is a phenomenal scope. I mean, it's just super fast. And what I'm going to do here is basically what you're holding when you're using a scope is you're holding multimeter leads. A scope is just a really, really fast multimeter. So I'm going to use it the same way. We're going to be monitoring voltage on these. So if you're using a voltmeter, you would connect your black lead to a known good ground, and that's my two black leads. Now in this case, it's nice because I can piggyback them, and I have an alligator clip that I'm using, and so my grounds for both...
You just made that suddenly appear.
I did. My grounds for this are going to be shared. I'm going to go right to battery negative, and that's going to be my ground connection. And my 2 channels, you want to remember where you're at. My blue one I'm going to use for channel A. We'll put that on our known good injector, well, what we're calling known good. And my red one, which will be channel B, we're going to put that. This is our number 3, our suspected bad fuel injector. Again, suspected. We might totally be blowing this and going in a different direction. Who knows?
But we won't know. I mean, that's the whole point. We're gathering evidence.
That's
we're not
right.
just going in an assumption that, oh,
That's
okay,
right.
poof, that's bad, and let's move on with our lives. We're
That's
actually
right.
going to gather some evidence.
Correct. So we'll go up now if we want to go over there, and I'm going to do everything up on the smart board, which is kind of cool. We're interfaced with the smart board, and everybody can see it.
Wow.
It'll be awesome.
Aren't you special?
I am. So we're looking at the scope, and I don't have the other channels set up, but one of the things I do first, the nice thing about a scope, I'm on an auto scale, so it's got me in a millivolt reading. We got all this noise on the screen. What this noise tells me right now is my ground's no good. So you can't really see that on a multimeter. You don't know.
I was going to ask if the key was on.
Yeah, no, this is because my ground connection isn't good. Watch, I'll go wiggle the ground. Watch how clean that gets. So, these oxidized grounds, even being on the battery.
Could it also be the connections on the back of the probes?
For sure.
It's still a little bit of noise, but not nearly as much.
But again, this is a scope, and it's got some serious sampling rate, and we're looking at noise that's probably in the room. In fact, if I looked at all these little ones, you'd probably see a 60 hertz frequency, which is my lighting in the room.
Or your mic.
Yeah, it could be. But I'm going to set this up to look at a fuel injector, and oh, I forgot something. The max input on this scope is 100 volts. Fuel injectors can spike over 120 volts on the collapse of the magnetic field. So to protect my
So similar
scope,
to an ignition coil.
exactly,
like when an ignition coil.
Lower,
Okay.
but yes. I mean, I've seen injectors spike at 120 volts.
Okay.
What I need to do to protect myself, to protect my scope, is I need to put a step down, what's called an attenuator in here. I have 2 of them. And what that's going to do is step my voltage down by 20. So I can safely look at much higher voltage.
So you don't need to look
this.
at the exact voltage. You just need to look at the pattern is what you're looking at.
No, I can tell the scope that I have the attenuator in there.
Oh, and it'll
adjust
compensate?
the scales for me, and we'll be good to go.
No wonder you're so into it.
I'm going to do that. So we'll go down here, and so we tell it that we're putting in the 20 to 1 attenuator, and that's going to set the scales up for me. You see, it's negative 100 to 400, and the scaling's already set for me. And I can zoom in on that later, and we can do that. But this is what we're going to want to do for both channels, is we're going to want to set an attenuator for both of these, because
All right, so this is, which injector would A, B, and B be?
A is going to be my good one,
Okay.
and B is going to be my, quote, bad one. We're not sure yet, but...
And we still have all of these leads we could also use?
Correct. We got channel C, channel D, 4-channel scope. I'm not going to use those right now, just using the first 2.
Okay.
Okay?
Just trying to get an idea
So I got to
what
go
I'm
back
looking at.
over and put my attenuators in series to this to make
Okay.
sure I'm protecting my scope. And this is them, just two little guys. And they're going to step down that voltage by 20. So the old Pico, you could safely, the 3000 series, you could safely read with these 1,000 volt input. What's the math on this one with 100 volt input? It'd be double that. So 2,000 volts we would be able to safely monitor without hurting this scope. 2 attenuators, stepping my voltage down. I've told my scope that's what I'm doing.
And it's already fixed.
Yeah, now a little bit of theory on the injector, so we want to set this up a little different because I don't need to see 400 volts on here. And I can move my scale, so I can just grab this and move my lines up and down, and I'm going to do that. And we'll pull, again, this is going to be my known good one, the blue trace. And we'll put the known bad one up just a little higher. And we
So
can
we're
play
actually
around with
we're
these.
actually looking at 2 different scales overlaid.
That's correct.
On the same screen.
That's correct. And I can set this up differently. This is just my preference. As far as a time base goes, this is 5 ms per division. That means each block is going to be 5 milliseconds long. There's 10 across the bottom. So you see we're at a 50 millisecond screen time. That might not be a bad initial view. You know, that's going to change depending on injector pulse and how long your on time is and what you're going to want to look at. But initial setup, I think we're ready to go. So I'm going to start the car and we'll see what it looks like. Yeah, go ahead, fire it up. Did not expect to see that. Okay.
Yeah.
Some initial view that we're looking at right now. One of the things I want to look at when I get a signal is I want to see repetition. I don't see enough of that on here. I don't like my scales that I'm on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jack this up to, this is a 50 millisecond screen now. And we want to really look at these patterns. One of the things you see right off the bat is there is no spike on this red trace.
Whereas you see it here.
Yeah, that's correct. So we'll get in.
You don't see it there, but you see it there.
That's right. That's right. So one of the things about a scope, you need to know how to set up a trigger, and I'm going to have to do that.
I would say probably the biggest takeaway from using a scope is knowing how to use the scales.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And this is key. And one of the things I tell my guys is if you don't know what the signal voltage should be, never set a trigger. No trigger until you get your signal on the screen.
Just let it show you where it is.
Let it roll, or set it on an auto, because an auto will do that. Now, every scope is different. But we're going to look at this guy, and this is live. A nice feature of the Pico is I can just kind of do that, and we can, just look at some detail here, and we can do it again. And now we can see what I wanted to look at, which is that guy right there. And that's what I expected to see.
So this is the same event occurring over and over again in the same location.
That's right.
So what you're doing, you have this as just basically your baseline.
That's correct. And this is the good one. So if we want to plug in some numbers for the good one, let me get this zeroed here so we can see where everything's at. I don't want to do that. We'll go. I'm just looking at my scales to the left, so I don't have to put. That's basically near 0 volts down here. You see this is battery voltage. This would be the injector turning on. From here to here would be your on time or your pulse width, the spike of the magnetic field from the collapse of the magnetic field. And then you're looking for a 60 volt spike minimum here, but there's actually a Zener diode that's clipping this off. Another plug here on my book. I have this info in there, but we use this in my class. This is what we do when we talk about it. All this stuff's important for making sure that this is what it should look like.
So this is our good injector.
This is our good injector, yeah. And then the last thing we're looking at, this little hump right here would be not there if this injector was sticking. What this would look like, this is going to freeze, but this would actually do that if that injector was not opening. So we're talking about just a little called pintle hump that we're looking at. That injector is opening.
Okay, so that's like the bounce.
That's correct. Yeah,
after it closes.
A moving iron core through a collapsing magnetic field induces a little voltage, and there you go.
Now, can we try a quick experiment here to get this to go again?
Yeah.
Can you just blip the throttle so we can look at how this changes when you do that?
Yeah, go ahead. Just once. Do it again. Increase and decrease in pulse width is what you saw there.
And why would that happen?
Well, on a step in, what you would see, pulse width is going to increase for more fuel, and then it decrease when you let off the gas for a decel. If we really wanted to see that, we'd zoom out and you can see the injector actually shut off.
But my point was this is going to change depending upon how much throttle you're giving it or how much load the engine is under.
That's right.
So that's basically the injector's nuts and bolts and working right there.
That's right.
Adding fuel.
So that's our good one. Let's look at the bad one. And we're going to zoom back out here. And we want to look at this guy now. Now what we don't want to do, and this is where trigger is important, if I would just grab this and zoom in on that, it's going to come and go off the screen. No, it's not. Okay, because it's holding that picture in that location. I'm still triggered. This is the overall view. I'm triggered off of this blue one. The reason it's holding on there is I'm still on the same waveform picture.
Well, this is what I'm seeing. I don't see that spike that you saw on the other one.
Yeah.
But it does seem to be consistent.
Yeah.
So would this indicate that the computer is sending a good signal?
That is correct.
It's just the actual injector itself is not doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Yes, and there's a couple. I did not expect to see this, so I want to show you a couple of characteristics here. Wow, I don't like that at all.
But this would be that same duration
yes.
that it's supposed to be on. It's just not opening up, not doing anything.
And truthfully, Eric, and this is experience for you guys too, what I expected to see, honestly, on this car was no pintle hump and a normal injector pattern. I haven't seen one of these yet. This is new to me. But a couple things that I don't like initially.
Well, could this be a wiring issue maybe?
It could be. Now, I'll tell you why. Let me get this zeroed out here.
Because if this